Hello everyone, Festina here. In this video, we are going to explore the button control. I'm going to click on Insert and add a button. So we will add the button to our workspace over here. The first property that we're going to talk about is the text property. The text property decides the text that is written on the button. Right now it is set to button and I'm going to change that to submit. By changing the text property, we can change the text that is written on the button. And next we have the OnSelect property. So when a user clicks on this button, what are all the actions that need to happen? That is what we need to define in the OnSelect property of the button. I'm going to show you how we can add a notification. Say for example, a form got submitted and after that you need to notify the user that the form has been submitted successfully. Then this is the place to go. In the onSelect property, let's go ahead and write the notify function. I have written the notify function over here. First, I have mentioned what is going to be in the text of the notification. And second, I am defining the type, whether it is a success message or it is something like an error. For this scenario, it is a success message. So we have given the type as success. Let me go ahead and play this app. And let's click on submit. You can see that a notification is shown here mentioning that the form has been submitted successfully. Buttons are also used for navigation purposes. Let us change this button to navigate to another screen. I'm going to change the text to next. And on the onSelect property, we are going to define another function which is going to navigate to a different screen. The function's name is navigate. This is the one which is going to let us move to another screen. And I need to mention the screen to which we need to navigate to. I have created a screen called nature, which you can see in the tree view at the bottom. This is the screen that we are going to navigate to right now. And the second thing that we're going to enter is the transition mode. Like, how do I want my screen to transition? I want to decide the transition type. You have different types here, like cover, cover right, uncover, fade, and so on. I'm going to choose the fade option. That looks pretty good. And here we have our navigate function. Let us go ahead and press the button right now. You can see that it navigated to the nature screen. And here I have created another button which navigates back to the screen from which we came from. I'm going to click on that. Here we go. So buttons can be used for successfully navigating between screens. The next property that we are going to talk about is the display mode. Display mode has three types. You can have the display mode as disabled, edit, or view. Let us say that you have created a form and you want to prevent the users from submitting the form without filling in all the fields. In that case, you can set up a functionality which checks whether all the fields are filled in, and if anything is blank, you can disable your button. If not, you can enable your button. Let's go ahead and see how that's done. First, I'm going to rename this button to submit, and then I'm going to add a text input to the workspace. This is for our testing purpose, and let us remove the default value of the text input. Let us go to the display mode property of the button. Currently, you can see that the display mode has been set to edit. Now we are going to change that by implementing a logical test. Let us go ahead and remove that and write a if condition. We are going to use a function called isBlank to check whether the text input is blank or not. IsBlank takes in the name of the text input first. It is text input 3. When I give in dot, I can choose the text of the text input. So this function is pretty much going to take the text inside this text input and check whether it is blank or not. And that's going to return a true or false value if it is true. So I'm going to give the display mode to be disabled if it is blank, or if it is not blank, I'm going to give the display mode to be edit so that users can submit the item. Here you can see that the text input is blank right now and the button has been disabled. And once I enter a value in the text input, you can see that the button gets enabled. This way you can configure display mode for any control and set up whether it has to be in edit mode, display mode, or just a view mode. I have removed the text input and set this back to display mode.edit. Now let's move on to the next property, which is visible. This is the property which decides whether this button can be seen or not seen on the canvas. So here you have a toggle for the button. If it is on, you will be able to see the button over here. And if it is off, the button will be hidden. If you want to set up any conditions for the visibility of the button, go to the visible property in the drop down and add your conditions here in the PowerFX formula bar, and based on that, return a true or false value. Set your button to be either visible or not visible. Next, we will talk about the design properties of the button. You can actually change the height and width of the button. Also, we have some very interesting properties regarding the radius. Radius is the property which decides the degree to which the button has been rounded at the corners. Let us choose this button and go to Advanced and search for radius. You have a radius property relevant to every corner of the button. And right now it is set to 10. You can see that it is mildly curved at the corners. Now I'm going to change that to 35. And here you can see a significant change at this bottom left corner. We can change every corner of the button and make it look similar. The best practice while doing customizations is that in future, if we want to make some changes in multiple places, we should design it in such a way that we change it in one place and it gets changed everywhere else. Let's go ahead and do that for this button. Currently, the bottom left is set to 35, and here I'm going to give the keyword self. So here the button is actually referring to itself, and we're going to choose property from self, which is radius bottom left. So what happens now is radius bottom right is assigned the value which was present in radius bottom left. I can copy and paste this to the remaining two properties. And you can see that the entire button's look and feel has changed now. So in future, let's say I want to change this completely. I'm going to change this to 60. And once I change it here, you can see that it changes on all four corners. This way we can create beautiful rounded corners for buttons. We can change the background fill of the button by changing the fill property of the button. Let's go to the fill property. Right now we can see a color value here. I'm going to change this to purple. And you can see that the color of the button changes. And we can also set a hover fill for the button. So when users hover over it, this is the color that will be displayed. I'm going to choose green and let us try to hover over the button. And you can see that it changes to green. One of the points that I wanted to tell you is that you don't really have to click on the play button and test things out every time. You can also test things out on the screen by pressing the Alt key. You can test it over here instead of going to the preview, the app section. Regarding the accessibility guidelines, it is a great idea to keep it in mind while building apps. When building apps, we need to keep in mind that the apps which we build need to be accessible to all our users. And how we can achieve it is by following a standard color contrast requirements in our app building process. For example, take a look at this button. Right now, the background is a dark color and the text which we have given is a light color. If at all we have given it something like black or dark violet or dark blue, it will be very difficult for users to read what you have written on the button. So while building apps, we need to keep in mind that we need to design every control in such a way that it is easy to perceive to the human eyes. Let's take a quick look at the color and fill properties of the button. And here you can see the color property. Color defines the color of the text which is on the button. Disable color defines the color of the text when the button has been disabled. Hover color defines the color of the text on the button when we hover over the button. And pressed color is the color of the text on the button when we press the button. So anything about color identifies the text, and anything regarding fill identifies the background. Disabled fill is the background color of the button when the button has been disabled, and fill is the default background color of the button. Hover fill is the background color of the button when you hover over it. Pressed fill is the background color of the button when you press it. Also, we need to take a quick look at the border relevant properties. You can set the border thickness, you can change the border color, you can change the border style. Also, there are focus relevant properties with all controls. Let me search for focus. So when you are focusing on the control, what is going to be the thickness and what is going to be the color of the border? I'm just going to change this to 10. And when I focus on the button, you can see that the thickness has been increased this time. So, following all these accessibility guidelines and also keeping in mind that our app has to be user friendly and easy to access, we need to build our apps. In the next video, we're going to talk in detail about the text input control. If you enjoyed this video, like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel to be notified on upcoming videos.